And we are live, guys. Welcome to a very, very exciting DCA Live. How are you, James? How are you, Ivan?
All good, all good. Good to be back.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Finally Monday. We have a lot to cover on this stream. Bitcoin is very exciting. It's a very exciting point in the market. Macro is really doing changes. We will talk about global liquidity. We will talk about all the altcoins, what is happening. DEXs are making moves. We will cover gaming coins, which I think is a very interesting sector. We will talk about DOGE. We will talk about what other players that have a lot of influence in the market are saying. Is Lightning Network over? What are the new coin trends? We will talk about the Lindy effect. James, you brought up, I think it's very interesting. And is it Altseason yet? That's really the conclusion we will come to. Let's go, guys. And please remember to do two things. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Ivan and James. And please ask questions in the comments. Then we will try to answer them as we go along. Did I miss anything, gents?
Nope. And the live is working. I can confirm.
The live is working. We had an incident the previous time, but now it's a great success. So let's jump into the charts. Let me bring this one up. And we will share this one. So Bitcoin is at a very interesting point, and it's actually a very strong situation here. Previous, hang on. This one should be there. And maybe we change the view a little bit like this. We have an interesting situation that previous resistance areas are turning into support. See here and here. And now we have this situation again, that we are now in a well-defined range. And I expect again that the previous resistance will probably act as support here one more time. I think this is very strong. If we look at it another way, this is so-called a running channel. We had the move up, we had the running channel. This is very, very bullish chart patterns. And that means that I remain bullish here. I think that this is a very positive situation. And I thought that we will try to come to a conclusion here today. What do you think about the price action from here going into the end of the year? Should we answer immediately, or should we talk around it a little bit with macro factors and then try to come back to it? What do you think?
I think we look a little on-chain first, just to show a couple of little things about how it is a very good time to be in Bitcoin. And there's still people hoping they can still buy at 25,000 and 30,000. But I can show you some data that shows that's probably going to be very difficult for that to happen. If you like.
Let's do that. So let's talk around it a little bit. Should we start with the on-chain then, James, if you have something to show, and then we can talk about macro.
I have one chart here. Well, I got three little charts I can show. One is, this is a chart from Econometrics, and it just shows you where we are in the cycle. Orange is the current cycle today, and you can see we are higher and faster than previous cycles. But if you look forward to the previous cycles, you can see that's the bear market and the halving cycle in blue, and the bear market and the first halving cycle in green. Technically, there was a halving cycle before that, but nobody knew what it was, so we ignore that. And you can see here that over the next, let's call it 300 days, things will go straight up if history repeats. Now, there are some things behind Bitcoin that are very different this time. One, we've got the SEC spot ETF stuff. Second, we have the hardest liquid supply ever. Third, we have crazy adoption really exploding. Like on Tuesday, it was 48 million wallets with a non-zero balance in Bitcoin. Now it's over 50 million. And that's just in 6 days. The fiat world is a mess. Global liquidity is on the rise. And the question is, I'm not sure if anything can derail Bitcoin from here. So looking at this chart, if you were a betting person, where would you think it would go? Now, in the blue one, people will say, oh, but they do expect it to fall because it did in 2020, but that was because of a black swan called C19, which we're not going to get into. So don't ignore that piece because that is an anomaly. Also, the adoption is crazy. This is the Bitcoin number of addresses with non-zero balance. It just went over 50. It spiked up in 6 days by over 2 million non-zero addresses, which is quite impressive. And then the final thing I'd like to show is Bitcoin CME open interest futures also spiked again. So a lot of money is being bet on Bitcoin. There's a lot of data to back that up. And that's just the beginning. Then there's global liquidity, and there's so many tailwinds happening right now.
Oh, very interesting. So very promising signs, both on the cycles in the 4-year cycle model, on-chain action, people taking futures position. But that can be both ways, right? The futures positions can also get hunted, right? They can get hunted for short term.
But they're all like 40K to 45K positions, and the perps are being bought heavily, etc. All the option action is extremely bullish. And I didn't even talk about the long-term holders versus short-term holders, the liquid supply versus illiquid supply. It's a perfect storm cooking up right now. So it's an exciting time to be in Bitcoin for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Ivan, what do you see in terms of Bitcoin price action?
Yeah, I have a few things. I also have this on long term and short term. But first, Larson, can you share my screen there? I have one reason why we deserve to get dumped on, why we deserve the existing pullback, you can say. Have you seen this? The most performant coin today, USTC, people think is gonna repeg. Now, all of you guys who are in the comments, let us know whether you are in the Terra community. There was one guy on my YouTube when I spoke about this who was saying that he was so confident they're gonna repeg. Guys, they are not gonna repeg. But I find it funny that a lot of these coins that should be dead, they are still pumping. Ethereum Classic is still top 50, or what is it? USTC, Luna C, they still have their days and they're still in the top 100. So based on this, we probably deserve a big short-term dump. But even if it happens, it's going to be short-term. Because just like what James was alluding to, let me share you this one instead. Look here, the people that are nervous, the people that are dumping, the people that are selling Bitcoin right now and not hodling like they should in this kind of environment are short-term holders. Look here, total supply held by short-term holders is going down, okay, just down and down and down. And look when it's going up. It's going up right at the peak. So the short-term holders, people who are not certain about crypto, who don't really believe in it, they're just here, to make a quick trade back and forth. They FOMO in right at the peak, and also here, look here, they FOMO in right at the peak in 2017, and then during the bear market they just dump and dump and dump until the next peak, basically. So right now, as you can see, they're dumping as well, and that is in a big contrast to long-term holders who are steadily accumulating. And what's funny is that they are the ones that are selling into the FOMO that the short-term holders are buying at the peaks. So this is the chart to look at. You should be following this chart and what these guys are doing and their timing, and not the other one, and not the other way around. So to conclude, have we sinned with our altcoin pump in Luna and their stablecoin? We have sinned. Will we have pullback? It's not unlikely that we discussed a bit last time. Pullbacks are normal in all bull markets. For 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks can absolutely happen. Will we be pumped no matter what afterwards? Absolutely, as long-term holders are accumulating and all of the factors that James discussed. And also look forward to discussing this Fed BTFC program, or what it's called, about the banking space, which is like hidden QE, which is already happening.
It's such a key insight that you're sharing there, Ivan, also, that, everyone watching here, don't do that mistake. Don't start buying after the prices run up, when it feels like euphoria, it's going to go forever. That's maybe the top. I remember actually on the previous top, I was laying on my back checking my phone, putting the kids to sleep, I think, and you sent a message saying that it kind of feels a little overheated. What do you think? And I remember I wrote, yeah, I think so too. Do you remember it? Must have been then.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and that was actually, almost on the day, it was the top. And that's when, like, kind of the beginners, the short-term holders, they start buying then. That's where the experienced people start feeling, uneasy. So yeah, it's important to kind of be awake, try to catch the early parts of the trend, not be the last one on the ball. So that is definitely the case. Let's move forward. Let's talk about macro, because that is definitely interesting as well. If we quickly look at some charts, the DXY index has dumped down. The yield has definitely rejected from the key breakout attempt. It's definitely back in the range. And these two have had a massive positive impact on stocks, on gold, on Bitcoin, and everything else. So what, James, you're really our macro specialist here. What is happening with the macro? You talked about it on your channel, and guys, definitely go and check for more in-depth information on both James and Ivan's channel on things we talk about here.
I think it can all be summarized in one key point here on the macro. And again, I got another chart I can share is this guy, is rate expectations. Okay, so a lot of people thought we'd be kind of higher for longer, et cetera, but now all roads are pointing to the fact that interest rate futures are expected to begin cutting in March 2024, and the expectations of this are just growing over time. And this will be a huge bullish event happening. Now, what I find uncanny is March 2024. Why is that date important? Well, we know what happens in April 2024, the halving. So imagine the perfect storm of an interest rate cut, the beginning of many cuts. That'll take us down, over 100 basis points towards the end of the year. Of course, it's going to be a lot higher than that, because in reality, the economy will weaken, unemployment will rise. We're also going into a presidential election. Of course, the incumbent does not want to be the one that causes unemployment, etc. So rates will be cut a lot more before November 2024. But the uncanniness of when the beginning of the rate cuts will happen in March 2024 is exciting, because April 24 is the halving date. So everything, like literally, you couldn't write a better script for what's going to happen in next year. And also, if you're in risk assets, interest rate cuts will blow up the Nvidias, the Teslas of the world as well going forward, which typically do badly when interest rates are going up. So again, nothing but tailwinds as far as I can see.
You also mentioned liquidity. Was it yesterday? Like the global liquidity.
Yes, another quick chart on that I did prepare for you. Was somewhere? I think it's here. Let me pop that up too. This is global liquidity. It's kind of hard to see, but focus your eye on the blue line and how it's spiked up just in the past 4 weeks. It's gone up $400 billion, and it's about to hit 100 trillion. So although this looks like a small chart, it represents 100 trillion in global liquidity almost. And I think we're going to hit that really soon, because China is printing. Europe will be forced to print. The US is printing in a covert way right now, as Ivan just said. And this will also help risk assets. So, I mean, we have nothing but goodness everywhere you look, everywhere you turn, from the money to the interest rates to the elections to the halving to, use cases, revolutionary use cases happening now in crypto like never before. It's super, and the crazy adoption as well. It's nothing but goodness, what I see.
And you said one other thing that I haven't thought about. You mentioned the mortgage payments in the US, for example, how they have spiked, and how that might also force the Fed to start cutting rates.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have many charts on that one, but if you look at mortgages, and the same thing in the United Kingdom, same thing in Australia, it's putting a real dent in the real estate market. So houses, people can't afford to buy. Housing affordability is at an all-time low. So things that they call the American dream, the ability to have a husband or a wife and a house and some kids and a dog and all that stuff, is out of reach for 80% of people now because of these high interest rates, about 7%. Now, a 30-year mortgage has tanked a little bit. I think it just went under 7% after being so high. But people now also face this other challenge where they no longer have any excess savings. They're expected to also be depleted in April 2024. Again, another point of how, okay, Americans all of a sudden in April 2024 will not have any more savings left, and they can't afford a house, they can't afford the mortgage, they can't afford their car payments. I mean, the Fed have already gone way too far, and they've broken so much stuff, and we'll start to see the real pain of that happening early next year, and that will also accelerate more liquidity, more handouts, more money pumped into the system, and lower rates too, or else it's just going to be, there will be a regime change in the United States unless the existing regime can fix things fast. So,
and I think that this is a global phenomena. Eric Husman, go follow this guy, great guy on Twitter. Housing affordability in the Netherlands is also at an all-time low. So we see this across the board.
And I always say that although we share American data, it's the same in Australia, United Kingdom, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, Canada. It's the same everywhere.
Yeah. We will talk also about the bank term funding program. But Ivan, do you want to comment anything on this, or should we?
Yeah, share my screen, Larson. There I have a chart up, which is the Tether market cap. And as you can see, a new week has started and we have another green candle. And when this chart is going up and you have a dip, you always buy. You always buy. This was the number one lesson from the last bull market. When this chart of Tether market cap is going up, it is time to buy the dip. The dip will most likely not keep dipping. When this chart is going down, the dip may keep dipping and we may be in a bear market. But as you can see right now, it's vertical. It's vertical up. So that's the crypto liquidity to keep in mind, which is up right now in ways it hasn't been since the last bull market. And for this entire year, it's been like this.
Yeah, and this is such a great clue. Thanks for bringing that up. And I mean, for the longest time, everyone has said that, Tether is like fake printing out of thin air and so on. I mean, perhaps they did, who knows? But maybe not. It's also that people want to get into the crypto market. So they're sending fiat money into some exchange and exchanging it in USDT. Then they need to, create more of them. And that's what I think we see here now, especially when they have started becoming more transparent. So this is fantastic. And it's not just, fake or anything like that. This is a real sign that money is entering the crypto system, which you can, by the way, not really read out in that sense from the market cap. Market cap is just the last price times the circulating supply. You can't see how much money is moving in or out, but here you can actually see it. So very, very good point. Let's talk about, still on the macro point, what is this going on with the bank term funding program, BTFP? James, do you want to take it?
Yeah, let me see. I think I didn't share I've got a great chart. Actually, I sent you one in a message earlier. If you can pop that up. I forgot to. I've got a whole bunch of BTFP charts. But the point of it is really simple. So it was supposed to be a lending program for the duration risks that the US banks have. They buy long-term yields and they suffer the exposure when rates go up. It's the simplest thing in the world. But the problem is Powell and company, the Fed, did not take into account the fact that they were only giving these out for 1 year. Okay, so that basically this thing supposedly expires on March 11th, 2024. Can you make this up? How many times have I said March and April so far in this video? It's incredible. But what's interesting is they will have to either extend the program because people are still borrowing from this program and they are not able to, the banks will not operate without having this stopgap to fill out their duration risk bags, basically. And the regional banks will need government bailouts, everything other than the top kind of 5 money center banks, even Citi, I think, it's Bank of America has a huge hole as well, like $800 billion. And the BTFP is loaded with these long-term securities that will likely pay below market rate for the next 2 to 30 years. And that's the whole problem. So the banks have put all their cash from depositors in assets that cannot cut it. Therefore, the government has bailed them out to the tune of nearly $1 trillion at this stage. But that expires in March 14th or March 11th. What date did I say? Either way, 2024, they're going to have to extend. And that's a big deal too. So again, it's another. Oh, that's the chart. Yes, it's another tailwind for us as we go forward. So you can see here the key thing to focus on. The BTFP is the big dark blue piece, and they're still borrowing from it over time. This doesn't show the total amount borrowed, but it's still being utilized every single week by the banks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And again, I don't know what the situation is with the banks in Europe, but I also know they have liquidity problems too. And there's also delta spreads in market interest rates between the German Bund and the Italy and everything else. So Europe has even more of a mess, but it's not bubbling to the surface just yet. I don't know how the Swedish banks are over there. They're more sheltered, I think.
yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, say we saw the problems in with Credit Suisse with all their history, and they still struggled so much earlier this year and so on. So definitely. Let's move on. Let's look at the altcoins, because there is a lot of stuff happening. Let me just get everyone up to speed here. And there's been dramatic differences. We've talked a lot about SOL on this channel. And I mean, if we just at a glance compare the different charts. So here is the SOL chart. Then if we compare with, say, the Cardano chart, it looks like this. The MATIC chart looks like this. BNB chart, and I'm looking at versus BTC. The BNB chart looks like this. Ethereum chart looks like this also. While Solana really stands out. We don't need to know any technical analysis. Just at a glance, it's blindingly obvious that Solana looks very different from all the other ones that I brought up here. And I mean, we've joked so many times, James, but you really were the person who stood up for Solana during the difficult times. And let's speculate a little bit on what has happened. What is the reason that Solana chart looks so different from all the other major altcoin charts? If we focus here on the altcoin versus BTC, we exclude the kind of speculative portion against USD. But why is it? What do you think, James? Do you want to start?
Yeah, I have another chart, but it's going to be it's hard to sell. But basically, I've got a chart of money flows out of Ethereum into Solana pretty much all year, and I always say follow the money because that tells you where things are going to go. But basically, Solana has become the consensus trade. The world has woken up. My thesis back in March 2021 was, okay, in the world, the best, cheapest, fastest, most secure thing always wins over time. If Solana could stay up and handle all the transactions and everything else, it will be the best chain. It will be the consensus trade. And that was always kind of the plan. They did have problems with spammers and attacks and everything else and congestion, but they ran, I think it was on Friday or Saturday, 50 million transactions in a day. That's never happened in the history of the world. And there's only one chain that can handle that type of scale. So that's the first part. Second of all, the people are now all of a sudden, they're not calling it, the ETH killer, but it's called the consensus trade. So now we have a situation. Another great slide I wanted to share was how in 2020, 2021, you had all these, how do I say, narratives that were supported by certain ETH-based or ETH-related, ETH-adjacent coins. You have like Chainlink as an oracle. You have this and this and this for payments, etc. That's all changing now to a new world order, kind of better, cheaper, faster technology. Then you have the DePIN revolution that's happening as well. And also, you talk about gaming. You guys probably know gaming a lot better than I do, but a lot of gaming stuff is also happening because for gaming to be supported, you need obviously a lot of instant finality and speed, and transaction costs have to be very low as well. So all of these things are pointing to this particular narrative as well. But in terms of Altseason, there are also some things happening. I don't know if you want to go there first or.
I thought we could touch on one more Solana related thing, and then I want to listen to Ivan about these topics, because the DEX volume, the decentralized exchange volume, has let me add this one. You shared it here, James, on X, that the Solana DEX volume has really shot out. It's kind of hard to see, but it's the cyan line, like the light blue-green line, right? That coming out of nowhere there at the bottom. Is that right?
Yeah, this is a map of the number of traders on DEXs. And Binance is the clear winner. Ethereum was always second place for the longest time. And now all of a sudden, Solana is about to eclipse Ethereum. Now, this doesn't mean all the DEX money, big volume transactions are happening on Solana, but it does mean the activity is definitely there from numbers of traders. But a lot of these traders could be moving around, 1,000 bonk, which is worth what, $2 or 20 cents or something. I can't remember the exact number, but that's where all the activity is happening. But it's a very good sign for the future, because if you look at doing financial transactions, say on ETH using MetaMask or with Polygon or whatever else, versus doing them on the Solana blockchain. I mean, once you hook your Phantom up to Swap or Jupiter or whatever else, it will give you a totally different perspective of how to use crypto. And that's just the reality. I did a couple of swaps last week on Jupiter, jup.ag. There's no VPN required. There's no KYC. You're just swapping stuff. And the spreads were minuscule, like way better than, say, Coinbase or anything could ever be. So that was impressive. Ivan, I see you nodding your head there too. Have you used any of these swap tools, these DEXs?
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it is that these cheaper blockchains will always dominate in number of users. And maybe in the future, what will happen is that the big funds will also move to Solana or somewhere else. But my thesis is that whether it's layer 2 or Solana, the use case there is, for example, gaming, like you mentioned, social media, this day-to-day, send $20 from Solana to some to stablecoin and back and forth. Those set of use cases, they cannot compete for block space with, let's say, institutions who are transferring 10 million, 100 million, because these institutions, they're okay with paying $100 to transfer 100 million.
Yep.
And when you have limited block space, you cannot have different use cases with different fee tolerances share the same block space. So that's why the use cases where you need cheap transactions, whether social media or gaming and so forth, they will naturally move elsewhere from ETH. And the big question is if the big funds will also do the same, that we will see more of the crypto net worth move from ETH somewhere else. And it may happen. I discussed it this morning that, for us, or at least for me, probably for CTO and maybe for you, James, as well, like the first smart contract chain we used is ETH. So ETH is always like the number one for us. And that's where, we have most trust. It's been the longest. But just like I personally, I never used MySpace. When I started to use social media, I went straight to Facebook, so I never even experienced MySpace. So the same thing will probably happen to L1s and L2s as well. If it is the case that we do see, and the signal to see that is when you do see more and more of crypto net worth move from ETH somewhere else, to Solana or to some other chain. But yeah, currently the number of traders is going up as it's allowing more and more this day-to-day use cases. While ETH, like we discussed last week, I think as well, it is more of this higher. It's like the Manhattan of crypto. And another way of seeing it is like Manhattan of crypto, where you have expensive real estate, expensive fees, everything is expensive, where all of these high value transfers are being done. And the question is whether that will change and how the landscape will evolve from here.
So let's think now, because this is very interesting. Actually, if we will have different chains for different use cases, that we will have some institutional chains that are very reliable, expensive, perhaps slow, or will we have one chain for everything and just different priorities or something? I'm not sure, actually. Thinking about like communication networks, we ended up with one network in the end. We have only one internet, and all the private networks and everything built, it got replaced in the end. while there was a very good argument for having more secure, purpose-built networks, but in the end, they all got replaced. We're all using internet. And the kind of the same with the mobile network. We're all using the same mobile network, while we did introduce priority features, for example. So many people don't know, but with many operators, if you get like a business account, you actually have higher priority. So your packets are going to go ahead if the network is kind of full. And someone sending videos on Instagram or something going to have to wait. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think we could end up in something like that? Or will it be like we have one network for gaming coins and another network for other use cases, and then we have Bitcoin and Ethereum for BlackRock when they want to send their trillions?
I can tell you how I use, because I have different wallets for different things. Like, let's say I want to try a game. Many games will give you a wallet. Like, they will generate a wallet and they will give it to you. And whether it's on layer 2s or Solana, like, it's very easy to bridge. So for me, for example, the way I use it, it's not like two different worlds. As this bridging tech is becoming more and more easy, you can have your like safe, quote unquote, safe wallet on ETH, and then you can easily go to any other chain. Like, and the same thing applies to wallets. Most people who are using crypto every day, you don't have your hardware like super secure wallet that you pull out for everything. It's impractical. You have your like less secure and medium secure and then more secure. So the same, in my mind, applies to chains, but that may change in this bull market. Like, let's say that Solana truly proves themselves, that they don't shut down and like restart the chain and all of that. Then yeah, maybe more and more institutions will see it differently. But it's a lot comes down to the psychological aspect. What do you trust? That's why Bitcoin is Bitcoin. You know, it's ETH cannot compete with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin because of the psychology and brand and just time in the market. And that if you have your money in Bitcoin, you know that you will have your money there. In ETH, I mean, it's basically the same, but still, it's a big difference when you speak to people about Bitcoin versus ETH. And Solana, they can take that spot as well, if they can build up a longer history. And I know that the last year they've been running quite well without any problems with the chain shutting down. But it's just a question about track record, as it's all of this is trust based. It's actually not tech based; it's trust based and like psychology and having your mind that is based. So are changes possible? What people trust, absolutely. So with more, and this bull market is the perfect opportunity. As this market, I mean, all chains are gonna go nuts. We're gonna see so much spam, so many transactions. We're gonna really battle test all infras in this coming year, 2 years.
Let's talk about gaming coins. Sorry, please go ahead, James.
Yeah, there's one thing I do want to show. I found it at last. Let me see if I can pop this up. Yeah, if you can see this is a very interesting tweet from Ansem. And it talks about, I'd be interested in your perspective, especially Ivan's perspective on this one. His vision is kind of ETH popular alts and their equivalents on Solana. What's going to happen, like Chainlink to Pyth, Aave to MarginFi, Lido to Jito, notice the name, Uniswap to Jupiter, Blur to Tensor, GMX to Drift, etc., Filecoin to Genesis. I mean, do you guys believe there could be a complete move from old chains to new chains because of this better, cheaper, faster, more secure technology?
I have a hard time seeing that is going to be but at the same time, those early users in MySpace when Facebook came also said, I have a hard time seeing that, most likely. But let's see. I mean, we will see it moving. That's why I'm tracking the net worth, as we are seeing more and more net worth move. Actually, I'm not looking that much at transactions per second or number of users, because again, it's just different. Like there are more normal everyday people than there are whales and institutions. So for now, at least, it's quite compartmentalized. But let's see. I mean, from trading perspective, it's great that we have the copies, because it's one of these like no-brainer trades. If you have something big on ETH and it's on Solana now and it's cheaper and it's new, it's gonna pump. So from trading perspective, this is great that we see this like copies being created. Whether it's gonna capture everything, for now at least, I have a hard time seeing that one chain will cap, because even like there's so many chains, there will always be another chain. Like that's the thing. Let's say that Solana succeeds, there's a financial interest to create a new chain that will compete with Solana. So it's gonna be interesting to see how all of this will settle down, because with, for example, telecom, you have no financial interest to like launch another one because it's so tough. You have to convince governments. Like it's tough, man. There will not be a million telecom networks. But let's say Solana is big. Okay, now there is a new reason to invent a better Solana. Just like ETH was supposed to be the fix for Bitcoin, where finally Bitcoin is fixed. We have programmability, fast transactions, but it's hard to build it in a nice way, like super bulletproof for the future forever. So now there's Solana. And it's so easy to do a new chain with tweaked parameters. So there's always this inherent interest to do another altcoin, another layer one. So I don't know how we will ever settle down, because also it's so fun. Whenever someone does, like, when the chain is big, it becomes boring. Like, I want new chain. I want a new opportunity. I want new, unexplored ocean to explore. So it's, I don't know. The nature of crypto is that we don't want to settle down. And that's why maybe it's going to be cross-chain protocols, but we can still share liquidity and all of the different use cases as we can explore more things. I don't know. It's so new, but
I find it funny because you give the very good analogy of MySpace. I've never used it. I've never been big on social stuff anyways. So, but when you look at, let's talk tech debt for a second. Okay. CTO for you and Ivan. Do you think that's an issue? If you build something and architect something 7 years ago and it's got a lot of latency.
Yeah, I mean, it's always all projects that are not your university, like coding project, have tech debt. And in 7 years, the same thing will be said about Solana and everything else.
Absolutely.
So tech debt, it's natural, and it needs to be managed. But something I've learned, going from computer science at university to building real things, like everything has tech debt. It's impossible not to. And even the big companies, you think they're gonna have so great tech? No, all of them have massive, horrible code bases that they're struggling with. So yeah, but obviously it's an advantage when you're newer. And that advantage is in 7 years is going to be somewhere else. So at that point, you better have network effect and users and so on and so forth.
In fact, I disagree with you there too, because the last 7 years, the amount of development will say this much. The next 2 years, it'll be 15 times that. CTO, what do you think about tech debt and older chains? Can they make it? With their slowness and expense and everything else and lack of adoption and horrible user interfaces, but bring in a telecom analogy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is this kind of system that we've created here where there is a massive incentive to create another one that is like green instead of blue and doesn't have the weight on the shoulders from the old system. That is definitely the case, and I think we're seeing it now with Solana versus Ethereum. Ethereum feels the weight of the global financial system on their shoulders. Everyone is been using it for sending billions. They feel it can never go down. They have to be very careful. They have to go slow. And they spent, I mean, we were joking about it when, I mean, even we talked like first time in 2017, and then Ethereum proof of stake was like 6 months away, and then it was 6 months away every year for 5 years in a row, and then they finally did it. But that showed how difficult it was to get anything through, and not even mentioning Bitcoin. They haven't really been able to do anything much to the capacity and so on over since the beginning, basically. And then comes completely new protocols like Solana. It's a radically faster, radically cheaper. Don't need really layer 2s and so on. And can still use it in a very cheap way. And they didn't really have the pressure. It was fine if they had to restart a couple of times. No one really cares. And here they are. And then the question is, can that happen again? Can that happen again in another couple of years with some other protocol that isn't even invented yet? And my take is, yeah, it can probably happen. No matter how entrenched a protocol is, I think we need to keep an open mind, be positive to innovation. And it's a reason why I think that like a hodl to death is a very risky approach to altcoins, because who knows? Who knows what will happen? Looking at the teenagers now, they're not creating any Facebook accounts. No one has any Facebook accounts, right? So now that is over. So that can happen with crypto as well. It could be like the boomer coins, and there's some new project next year. I think that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that's why altcoins will never die. Maxis, they hope altcoins please die, but it's so easy to do another one and to build a story, and everyone will love it. And it's another tokenomics, and now this tokenomics is it's like another football club. Like all of these L1s, you can see them from a tech perspective, and then you can see them as it's another team. And it's so fun to be part of these new teams that there will also be another Solana, another ETH. But at the same time, you see, yes, tech is great, Solana fast, all of that, but it is hard to move people's net worth from ETH. And it's not easy. People are used to it, they trust it. The same thing with MetaMask. Is MetaMask a beautiful wallet? No, it's ugly, but do you want to move where you have everything there? It has never been hacked. You've been using it since 2017 and it's working nicely. It does feel a bit shady to move. Will it happen? Yes, with the new waves. That's why Solana, they really have now a great opportunity. New bull market is here. We're going to have hundreds of thousands of new users that are going to come and stay. Probably millions are going to come. Most of them are going to get wrecked and leave. Hundreds of thousands are going to stay. Will they have Phantom as their default wallet that they learned and they trust? They never even tried MetaMask. I mean, that is the question.
Yeah. I think there's zero risk that we will run out of topics to talk about here on this channel. Let's proceed to gaming coins. Ivan had a great video, was it this morning or yesterday? Can't remember, about gaming coins. I think it's a very interesting sector. Ivan, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to speak about specific ones because I'm sure they're going to get slaughtered by James' system there. But let's talk in general, just in general, about gaming. And it's another kind of a view on this layer 1s, layer 2s, because some chains, they are chains for gaming, whether it's Immutable or Ronin or others. Like they are chains for gaming. So let's say that there is an app where it's a game and it's massive. It's like Fortnite. Gaming is the largest entertainment industry, bigger than movies, bigger than anything else. And we in crypto, it's gaming and gambling in one, which is like even better. For in many ways, it's even more addictive and more capturing. So can it happen that many people get into a gaming chain as their number one chain and they've never even tried anything else? They never tried ETH, they never tried Solana, they never tried Cosmos. They just played the game. Their wallet is in the game, is connected to this gaming chain. Can it happen? I think there's a good chance it may, especially now that if you try the latest games, they are getting better. Like I can see that in a few years they will be here. They've been horrible for the last maybe 3 years, ever since GameFi became a thing. They've not been fun. But the last one I've tried, they are getting better. I can see that this can be like the next, Habbo Hotel. I don't know if you guys play that, but when I was younger, Habbo Hotel was a thing. It's kind of hanging out, building your furniture in a room. I mean, it's this kind of games. They were massive in the early days of the internet. So, and all of us in crypto, most of us at least, we are gamers from the childhood. And we love gaming. Like we don't have time to game a lot now, but we love gaming. So the idea that you can play something and you can actually earn, let's say I kill a dragon in a game, it can drop $10,000 as loot. Man, maybe it makes sense to put a bit of time into playing it and enjoying the game. Because I don't know about you guys, but I personally, I have trouble enjoying games, not because I don't like them. I think they're fun. It's just that it feels like a waste of time. Like you're wasting your life playing in a virtual world with zero return. You could go and explore all coins. You can talk to people, get connections online, stuff like that. That's like you playing the real life, the game of the real life. You level up yourself. So I like that more. But if it is the case that I knew, okay, I'm actually earning here. I'm not just wasting my time killing this dragon. Actually, I'm earning here. Man, it's another audience that the gaming sector will unlock. And I hope it happens. It does seem fun anyway, that you combine crypto and the fun of crypto with the old nostalgia of gaming that we remember from our childhoods.
My thinking is that because many games are really big, that is like huge industries, much bigger in numbers probably than any of these altcoins. So I was thinking, what if one of these games actually catches on, like in the real world? Because I think many people will feel exactly like you say, Ivan, that they like playing games, but they also don't want to waste their time. What if they can do both? What if they can play games and earn some money?
CCO, one thing about that also, like in many games, I just I pull them up and I know that I'm playing with like 12-year-olds because I was 12 when I played it last. So it would be nice to know that in crypto we play games and the dude on the other side, like I'm not here playing with 9-year-olds. Okay, we're all crypto degens. That's another aspect. Like I want to have the same experience, but with like people my age.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this could get huge, actually. And like you say, many people like it. Elon Musk talked in some interview a couple of weeks ago. He really likes playing games and so on. And it's not that he has time to waste, but he said that he likes it to kind of relax and maybe not think about stressful thing for a while. So yeah, I think that this is definitely a sector to watch. And I think that if one of these picks up, it could really get huge, because we need vehicle for mass adoption. Whatever chain they get on, it could continue from there. They could get traction. Let's continue with another altcoin. Elon Musk sat and did a very serious interview about Dogecoin the other day, and he said like this. I don't play the video because I don't know if it's copyrighted, but he said the transaction volume of Bitcoin is low and the cost per transaction is high. It is, at least at its base value, suitable as a store of value, but Bitcoin is not a good substitute for a transactional currency. But Dogecoin is better suited for transactions. He said sat in that like table outside the rockets and said this in a very serious tone. So it feels like if X becomes, our new super app where we do all our financial transactions, and he has said so many times that the funniest outcome or the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. It feels to me like he has set this up to bring in Dogecoin as a very serious currency into this X app. But of course, he hasn't said that. This is just my interpretation. What do you think about this? Who wants to start?
James?
Yeah.
You're the OG Elon Musk. I can go after you.
Well, I kind of read a little bit. He like this guy, don't underestimate him. He knows everything from peace to rockets and space and Mars and everything else. But he said I think the interesting thing I pulled from that, and I only saw it briefly this morning, was transactions per day is needed for payments. He also said Dogecoin is inflationary, but that encourages people to spend it other than holding something like a store of value like Bitcoin. And we need fast payments wherever it comes from. But he may not be up to speed on what's happening in the payments world, with certain tokens partnering with Visa for payments and other tools that are out there. So the payment use case, will it happen on a meme coin? I don't know. When you look at the number of developers behind Doge, it's small. And having the legacy of being, starting off as a joke and becoming a global payments platform, I don't see it happening. But what is interesting, actually, can I show one more chart? This is going to be fun. So if you look at Doge, Doge you'd think kind of would be dead, but this is kind of related to what we discussed earlier, and I didn't know if I would need this, but you can see here, Doge not doing very well. But then you have other stuff like Bonk, which is going crazy, and the money flows into a thing called Bonk or out of control. Another one called Samo, like doing way, way better than the Doge of the past. So this goes back to the same question we had before. Will this new stuff take over the old stuff? Is the underpinning of the technology better, cheaper, faster, more secure? That's what we need to tackle, and people need to position themselves based on that going forward.
Yeah. So
like Ivan, CTO, have you looked at any of these Doge killers? Because the amount of trading volume on this thing called Bonk is insane.
It's crazy.
Absolutely insane.
Meme coins are huge. Yeah, Ivan, what do you think about Doge?
Yeah, I mean, there will be I see an interesting conflict in you, James, because you love Elon and Solana, like we also love them, CTO and I. But I know for a fact that Elon does not like Solana, because I think we discussed it a few months back that there was this lawsuit where they leaked a bunch of SMS or DMs from Elon where he was annoyed with SBF, and SBF was pitching him Solana for Twitter. But so that's one is going to be interesting to see if people still keep suggesting Solana to him or not. But I think that it's going to be Doge, guys. This entry with the rockets in the background, because and by the way, what an epic entry with the rockets in the background. It was amazing. But it's going to be Doge, guys, because like we discussed, he cannot use the banks because they are too vogue. It's not going to work. All of the big advertisers have left Twitter, or no, not well, they have left, but also like the newspapers and like Lionsgate and Disney stopped tweeting. Someone made a big deal of it on Twitter. Like all of this mainstream, they don't like Elon and the way he drives his freedom of speech and agenda. So he cannot work with the banks. He needs to use crypto. So what is it going to be? He's always been into Doge. I don't think he's been into Doge to pump and dump, like many people say in the chat, and also in my stream, people said that Elon pumping and dumping Doge. Why would he pump and dump? He will get another million for what? For nothing. It's to ruin his reputation. He's not pump and dumping Doge, but I think he's for real interested in Doge, and sees it kind of like Bitcoin of memes. It's never been touched, but that can also be seen as an advantage because it's fast. It's never been touched. It's not changing. There is no like insiders in the same way, and maybe there is. Just I think like the way Elon thinks, it's more of this like neutral OG meme coin that he has been speaking about for years already. So yeah, this entry just got me more convinced that it is gonna be Doge, and I have almost zero doubt there is gonna be Doge now in Twitter. Yeah. Almost, if before maybe I had 20-25% doubt, now I think I have maybe 3 to 5% doubt is gonna be Doge. Let's see.
Yeah,
I think I bought some Doge.
Let's see. And in terms of Elon Musk, I don't think he quite understands the tokenomics. So literally 94% of all Doge is still held by the top 100 wallets, and it's still inflating at 4%. And the technology is, and there are still transaction fees. It's not going to make it in the future. It's not going to be the global payments platform unless, of course, they fix the distribution and they increase the technology speed and they reduce the fees. Or else it's not going to make it. But however, he is planning something to turn X into the global financial institution. That's happening. Absolutely. No doubt about that. The question is, what will it be? He will probably, if he wants to protect himself, he has to create something new. It could even be a modern, better, cheaper, faster version of Doge. Who knows?
But he said he's never gonna do a coin. He said that clearly in one of the tweets. Like,
well, it won't be a coin. It'll be a method of transferring wealth. It doesn't need to be a coin.
Happen. Absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And just to clarify, I think also in case they do something with Doge, they would need to fix the technology, definitely. But I mean, that is possible. You can kind of keep the brand and you kind of fix things a little bit to change it underneath. The other thing that I wanted to cover, because the other alternative to fixing the problem that I think is correct, that Elon Musk brought up, that the current Bitcoin network, layer 1, isn't suitable for transaction. That is just a fact. And that hasn't been fixed. And the big bet was Lightning Network. And I've been skeptical to it forever. And Ivan, you actually were skeptical for the past 3 years as well.
Yeah, I was a supporter in the beginning. And I mean, what I've learned by supporting Lightning Network is that even people that are smart, sometimes they are wrong. Because I remember, I mean, from a technical perspective, you study something and you're like, man, I don't really get it fully. But then Andreas Antonopoulos comes and says, it's fantastic. And he's writing a book on it. And I'm like, man, I mean, Andreas Antonopoulos loves Lightning. Okay, I mean, and then you see some apps being created. But I always had this a bit of a, it's kind of like, I had the same one with Celsius a bit, because I asked Alex Mashinsky on my channel, where does the yield come from? And he was, he'd never explained it fully. And I was like, man, I don't really understand, but it's Alex Mashinsky. He's on all YouTubes. I mean, it's Alex Mashinsky. And that was the same. Like, I knew by myself that it doesn't really make sense. But, and then of course, SBF is another one. But with Lightning, I was supporter in 2017, 18, 19, and then in 2020 it was just all of the solutions for Lightning were centralized. And even now people know Strike, Lightning, and this company, but it is centralized. A lot of these channels that they're using for the app, it's not created by the users. The way Lightning should work is that you, as a user, you set up a channel, you start transacting with other people, and it doesn't work because you need capacity on the channel, you need routing. And the big blockers were correct in their arguments in that the Lightning will not work. Their fork of Bitcoin did not catch on, Bitcoin Cash and BSV. I mean, for many other reasons. The fact that they were correct in that Lightning didn't work did not remove all of the problems they themselves have. But it is, I think now it's becoming kind of consensus that Lightning is not the solution. It's not the gospel. It's more of a science experiment that never went anywhere. And we need another solution. And now that we finally can leave Lightning behind, we can find something else. So it's very bullish actually for Bitcoin that we can mentally move ahead. And it's crazy that Bitcoin can get into this warp, like, mind warps for years, that if you say anything against Lightning, we're gonna banish you. It was crazy. Even Antonopoulos got also banished because he wrote a book on ETH, which is funny. He got banished from Bitcoin because he's a shitcoin. He wrote a book on ETH, and that's the Lightning story. But you see on Twitter now, a lot of the Bitcoin devs, Lightning devs are saying that it won't work.
James, what's your thoughts on this, and also leading into the Lindy effect that you have mentioned many times, James? Do you want to explain what it is, and do you think that Bitcoin can still come out of this for that reason?
Yeah, let me see. I do have a little slide on this, if I can share, to give people perspective of what we mean by the Lindy effect, and pop it up here. So the Lindy effect basically means the longer something is around, the more likely it is not to fail, and the more trusted it is, basically. So it's kind of like a survival factor. But Bitcoin, if you look here, this is kind of the market cap and liquidity of Bitcoin kind of on the left, and then the Lindy effect over time. So a lot of people believe, some people believe, that big money won't invest in Bitcoin because they think it's too late compared to other cryptocurrencies. However, they don't understand that big money wants to minimize risk. They like to preserve capital first and seek out alpha second, as I always say. They prioritize stability and reliability over the hype of being an early adopter. And that's why the Lindy effect, for example, the longer the Bitcoin exists, the stronger its Lindy effect becomes. And that means it could actually replace gold as well. The growing market cap as well, it becomes more liquid and less volatile, and it makes it more attractive to big money too. Therefore, big money will come into Bitcoin because it is now bigger, faster, safer, not faster, bigger and safer than other assets, which makes it interesting. In terms of Lightning, I think I've uncovered it very, very well. In fact, I think we spoke about it here on the channel, listing all the points many months ago as to why it had many problems. And I was hopeful that somebody like Jack Dorsey at Square or the Block would be able to kind of invest in it and fix it, or create their own version, or Jack Mallers from Strike, or maybe even, who knows, Elon Musk, if he had Bitcoin, because he does believe in Bitcoin, if he had that as an underpinning and could create a better Lightning behind it, who knows, it could be possible.
Yeah, so just to recap this section, because it's really important. It is like kind of that the one that is the winner and has been the winner for a long time is maybe more likely to remain the winner, even if something else comes that's better. It's hard to remove the king from his throne, sort of.
But the difference is, I think you need to break out. You mentioned use cases of chains earlier. There's one store of value use case. That's Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
And then you talk about payment mechanisms. Maybe that's Doge. You talk about things like bond market replacements. Maybe it's Ethereum with the 5% staking yield. Who knows? But that's where the use cases come in, and that's where certain niche cryptos and blockchains can actually carve out their own little use case. There might be a chain completely dedicated to gaming. Who knows?
So while you guys write some great questions in the comments, let's try to answer 2 key questions that everyone wants to know right now. Number 1, is it alt-season yet? Number 2, what do we think about Bitcoin until the end of the year? Has it peaked, or are we going higher? What do you guys think? Who wants to start?
Altseason first. This is kind of where it is right now. We are halfway there, but so we're not in Altseason. But when you carve out the actual performance, this is Bitcoin over the last 90 days relative to other assets, and Algorand dropped out of the top 50 all of a sudden. But if you look at the winners and how far they've gone ahead of Bitcoin this year, Rune, top of the list, Solana, Injective, Chainlink, can't read some of the others there, Render, Avalanche, CRO, Elrond. I mean, they've all completely smashed Bitcoin over the last 90 days. And that's really, really, really impressive. And this is where I think it gets confusing for people, because they think in terms of everything moves together, or they think that they need to look at Bitcoin dominance or CMC3 or whatever. It doesn't matter. You got to excise the leading narratives and the winners in those spaces. And that's where the money flows. And the transfer of information, I mean, Ivan, I don't mean to disagree with you, but with your MySpace versus Facebook, we're living in a world that moves way faster. And people literally, they may be reticent to give up their MetaMask, but when they read something about kind of speed and no slippage, and they find that they can do a trade faster without the need for a Coinbase or whatever else, wow, they change like that in an instant. And that's where the world is moving faster. The technology is moving faster. The adoption will move faster. We're going to greet in now a new 100 million easy new users over the next 12 months into crypto. Everybody is doing it. And as you say as well, who's playing games when technically playing with crypto or degenning is more fun than the game? And you see that with this Doge thing. Not Doge, the Bonk coin. I can't remember what it is. Like 10,000 coins is worth $2 or something, or even less. I don't know. But people are just having fun with it. They're transferring it to friends, and they're trading it, and they're swapping it, and they're using it for other tools. That's what I think is what people don't underappreciate, is the exponentiality of the world we live in. Everything moves way faster than ever before. And the transfer of information is light speed. So CTO, I like your perspective on that too. And again, you know how stodgy and slow moving the telco industry is, but have you seen any revolutions happen beyond AI that backs up my case that things move fast?
I mean, it's really this exponential growth that we talked about many times. There has been, I actually realized I still have my artificial intelligence textbook that I studied at university in 1993. It's still standing in my bookshelf. And it has kind of continued to improve steadily from that. The problem was that if you draw this on a linear scale, it's at the bottom the entire time. You don't see that it's growing, even if it's improving 50% every year or 100% every year. It's still zero. You can't use it for anything else than playing games or chess or something like that. But then it comes to a point where 100% improvement every year suddenly takes it from useless to super useful. And then every continued 100% increase every year turns it into like superhuman very fast. And we have the same kind of growth patterns in crypto. If you draw something on a linear scale, it's zero, and then suddenly it shoots up and you can't see the line anymore because it's up in the roof. While if you draw all these things on a log scale, you see kind of a constant growth almost. So I feel that all technology, all global technology almost grows like that, but they grow on different time frames. Crypto goes so much faster, about 10 times faster than any tech company. And so there's so much to talk. It's such a big topic. I'm conscious about the time. Ivan, do we have Altseason yet? And what do you think about Bitcoin price until the end of the year?
And like you say, James, I agree with you. It moves faster. That's why you got to capture the newcomers, because once someone has adopted the wallet, in this case, whether it's MetaMask or Phantom, I've seen that be very hard to change. Like the default wallet for a chain wins is probably very hard for someone to come and conquer with Phantom, even if they have better features on Solana. And the same thing with MetaMask. But in terms of the Altseason, I mean, for me, it's always Altseason. There's always a coin that does well. So I don't really look at Altseason like for the entire market, because I'm more interested in the new ones, new projects. I mean, that's my interest. That's why I'm saying like I want always new. When something is too stable, no new announcements, nothing new coming, already successful. Okay, I want something else. So for me, it's always Altseason. And what's important here is that actually now is probably the best way to become wealthy if you're not in crypto at all now. Because right now, at the start of the bull market, this to everyone who is watching this, but I mean, you can literally join the new coins, whether it's Pith or like Bonk or just, new coin that you like, go to their Telegram, be active in the community. Like you can actually go full-time crypto if you become active in this Telegrams, Discord now. Maybe they're going to hire you as community manager. Maybe you can connect with the team, get some kind of role, get rewarded in an airdrop or token distribution. There's endless opportunities for people to go full-time crypto right now if you like altcoins, because that's where everything is happening. That's where all the opportunity is to invest and truly change your situation in a matter of years. Like it is possible. I know people who 2019 they were working as a teacher and doing some normie things, and now they're full-time crypto and they're like business developer. Like this is an actual story. It's a guy who called Carlos. He went to our academy back in the day in 2019 when we had like basic crypto academy, and he works as business developer for Brave browser. I mean, that's a fantastic journey that anyone today can make if you start being active in this altcoin telegrams. Don't be too active in Bitcoin, because again, like they don't want you there. They're elitists, and it's for a good reason. Like they keep Bitcoin stable. Bitcoin is Bitcoin store of value. Fantastic. Like you will not get anything there. ETH also is too hard. So core Solana, like it's also established, but like coins on Solana, new coins on ETH, that's like a treasure. It's a treasure chest of opportunity, career opportunity, investing opportunity. So yeah, pull up the Telegram, pull up the Discord, and that's the real altcoin season. Like this is the altcoin season in terms of opportunity going full-time crypto.
Absolutely. And the payment is what you learn, who you become doing the work you do. Don't focus on who pays the most, 10% more, and go there. Instead, think about what you're learning.
You also decided to go just full-time crypto with content in 2019, right?
2017.
2017. Yeah.
So
imagine if you still worked at Ericsson.
Yeah, I left Ericsson, a very safe and stable job. I could have, there's too much to say about that.
Guys, leave and go full-time crypto. That's it.
Go for it, guys. Don't sit. In Swedish, there's like an expression like let go of the corner flag in soccer, in football, and get into the game. Don't stand there at the corner and hold the flag. Get on the field. Start playing. Let's take a few quick questions. Question for James. Do you consider Tesla less risky than BTC just by volatility measurement?
Yeah, this takes us to our exponentiality. So Tesla has so many high margin revenue lines that are about to explode and zero competition in the world. That's what makes it very interesting. I'm actually working on a new model right now that looks at kind of the size of their energy storage business, some of their software solutions, their bot, their FSD, robotaxi. When you break these things down and their ability to license what is coming, literally price technically could go almost to infinity, because they have just such a lead and they have such ability to turn on margin that we could see things go exponentially. Yes, you might make a 3x on Bitcoin, but in 5 to 8 years, will Bitcoin still be around? I don't know. Will Tesla be around? Yes. Will Tesla be printing incredible amounts of money and have a market cap of maybe 4 to 10 trillion? Yes. Therefore, I think it's less risky.
Great. Can you comment on if, when, how to secure capital? So, Mr. Turk Akbay, bought a bunch of SOL at $9. Well done. Do I keep all of it, or do I occasionally sell some? And I can't ask exactly what you should supposed to do. That depends a lot on the rest of your portfolio and your situation. So that's why you can't really advise. But when to do something is actually learnable. That has been studied to death. That is what technical analysis is, and that can be learned. What is very difficult. Like, there is no shortcut to which project and so on. It takes a lot of work. It takes like hundreds or thousands of hours to study and learn to understand what to do. But when to do what, that is actually the easier part, while it is where most beginners go wrong. And like we said in the beginning of the stream, they buy at the peak instead of at the beginning of the trend turn. So this is learnable. You can build a system, you can pick basically any system, and you can decide what to do and do it consistently and well. So here there is an answer. Let's continue with Robo. I don't know if any crypto will be allowed for payments directly. Governments want capital gains taxes. And I think that they will still get capital gains taxes, because they will fine you if you don't, pay them. What's your take on this? Or will this not be a payments use case in that? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, that's a moot point, because say, for example, you have dollars, and imagine you've got a bank account that actually pays you interest on your dollars. That's taxable. You transfer things, you sell your private car for cash, you put the cash in a bank, you get interest, you're taxed on that interest. It's the same thing. You sell your car for cash, you get cash, you put it into your bank, you transfer it to an exchange, you buy Doge, and you use that for payments. Same thing. Everything is trackable and taxable. So that's a moot point. Governments want control. Governments do not want the ability not to control the plebeians. If they lose control of their fiat, they lose control of their regime. And you go back in history, 3,000 years, it repeats every 100 years, 80 years for currencies. So
exactly. Next question. What happens if AGI can decrypt AES? Ivan, can AGI decrypt AES?
It's one of these like crypto bingo, the arguments you get at the Thanksgiving. What if AI hacks it? What if, encryption breaks? Well, number one, you can always change the algorithm in Bitcoin. But number two, the internet will go down, global payments, nuclear launch codes, like everything is based on encryption will also be in trouble. So it's a bigger, I know it's a bit whataboutism, like you say, what if that happens, and then you're like, well, what about nuclear? Like, just to set the context, like everything will fail. Global finance fail. Stock market will, if encryption breaks, the standard encryption we use today, including AES, the hashing algorithms, which AGI may decrypt. I mean, who the hell knows? We don't even know like what level of thought it's going to have. Everything is going to fail. With Bitcoin, we can change the encryption, the hashing algorithm, and the private key algorithm. It is possible to change.
Yeah, I don't think it can. I don't think because it's math, right? So unless AGI invents some new type of math, I don't think it's going to happen. It can't happen. James, will GBTC have to sell BTC when their spot ETF gets approved to align with spot price, or how does this work?
Yes, it depends on exactly how much liquidity there is and how much money is flowing into the fund. And the beauty of a spot ETF is their allocations, their holdings have to represent exactly how many shares are out there. It's that simple. So, for example, if people redeem, say, the Bitcoin spot ETF from BlackRock, and they sell $100 worth, BlackRock needs to offload that much in Bitcoin. But of course, we expect the buy pressure to far exceed the sell pressure. For GBTC, that could be a question, because if their fees are in any way, we're talking basis point higher than BlackRock, money will go to BlackRock. Better, cheaper, faster always wins, even for ETFs, even for blockchain. It's just the way of the world. People will sniff out the cheaper, better way.
Okay, so final comment. What do you think, guys? Are we bullish, or is this the top for the rest of the year and beyond?
I definitely think we could hit easy 40 to 42,000 by the end of the year. People are 90% sure, which is an extremely high ratio, that we'll have a spot ETF by the 10th of January, 2024. What's that? 43 days away? That's not very far, ladies and gentlemen. So the question is, do you want to sell now and wait Or will people stack over the next 40 days in anticipation of this event that is 90% certain to happen? I think that's what you call a no-brainer in the business that I'm in. Ivan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a few weeks left, and Bitcoin can easily get into this boring mode for weeks and months. But if that happens, it's going to be temporary. Just watch the beginning of the stream where we discussed all the bullishness for Bitcoin. But mentally, I'm also prepared for this boring phase like we had this year. It was like 6 months of sideways. Can it happen again for a few weeks until the end of the year? It can, but we're betting bullish here.
Yeah,
I mean, we've been the most bullish show on YouTube since we started, basically. We've been correct all the way from the bottom there.
Yeah. What's interesting as well, you got to look at, I always refer to this as steps, and I'm sure you see something same in your charts. Bitcoin moves, and then it takes a breather. It's like we're hiking up the Himalayas or something. You go up 2,000, 3,000 feet, you take a rest for a couple of weeks, then you go up another 2,000, 3,000 feet, you take a rest for a couple of weeks, then you do the same thing. It's in that same step process. We're in this little bit of a rest period, but literally any slight catalyst or anybody decides to deploy or front run, you'll see big moves. And we're seeing that as well happen with the proxies, MicroStrategy, CleanSpark, all those names. GBTC discount going to zero almost. It's like 6% last time I checked. And that was, and you remember 14 weeks ago on this channel, we discussed the ETH discount at 55%. That's 11% now. And that's in 14 weeks. So even if ETH went nowhere, you can make huge money off the discount being depleted. These are all signs, everybody, that people who can't get their spot ETF, they're loading into proxies. And this is very bullish as well for 10th of January.
Yeah, I'm also very positive. Trend is up, means dips are for buying. Don't buy the dips in the downtrend, guys. Buy the dips in the uptrend. Now we're in uptrend. So then dips are good. We're hoping for dips. We're hoping for crashes. Please give us more dumps and crashes. Then we cheer and we are joyful and we buy more. That's the game right now. I remain bullish as long as the trend remains up, which it is, and very strong chart. This feels great. I'm very happy. Anything else except to remember to subscribe to everyone's channel.
Thank you, guys. Great show. Great topics as well, CTO, and great chatting again with you, Ivan.
Fantastic, guys.
Yeah, next week on Ivan's channel. Don't forget.
Yes, guys.
Hit that bell, whatever that is.
We're going to be back. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. All the great comments, all the great questions. Speak to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.